Headley, quick question. What did you have for tea tonight, or dinner, or supper?
I had. Okay. We had steak.
Oh, that's very civilized of you.
Why are we starting like this?
I don't know. Why
What's?
not? I just thought, let's just mix this up, Headley. Welcome to
Oh
Wessex
God.
Ways, everybody.
Welcome to Wessex Ways. Let's get the title music done.
Hey, Headley had
Hey.
steak for tea, everybody. I had, just in case you want to know, Headley, I had like chili con
I
carne with pasta. Beautiful.
honestly couldn't care less. Right. So is that our new thing? Is that how we, instead of what we've done over the last 2 or 3 weeks, this is
What did
what
you
we
have
had for
for
tea?
tea? Why not? It works for
Wow.
me. I'm keen to know. I know you, Headley. We converse quite a bit in life.
Yes,
I feel like
we
I don't
do.
know what
We
you have
do.
for tea. I should know this stuff,
Yeah, that's
right?
a bit creepy. Bit creepy. Bit creepy. Um, so what we're going to do is for people who are new to this is episode 13, so we're surviving so far. We're going to go over, we have a little bit of chat to start with, what we've done the last couple of weeks. Then Paul and I basically have a subject each, and then at the end we read out comments that people have put on our previous
Oh
episode
yeah,
YouTube, and any questions and mysteries we have,
that's always
so
fun.
from people. So we're trying to keep it as interactive as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do it that way. So over to you, Paul. What have you? Well, we've been 3 or 4 weeks, hasn't it,
Oh, it's been
since our last?
yeah. So we have had quite a gap. We should point out that we have had quite a gap
Mm,
between our chats on the podcast because for one reason or another, we've been just madly busy. But
mm,
we didn't set this out to be an algorithm busting thing. So we're quite happy. We aim for every 2 weeks, but
mm.
sometimes we miss a little bit, and I think we've missed a bit this time. But yeah. So
Yeah,
there's a lot
we.
to catch up on, really, Eddie. But I'm not going to go over
Mm,
everything because
mm,
it'll bore the pants off people. But I got a couple of bits of interesting news, which I thought I would just cover very briefly first of all, which is sort of a catch up on the videos. Because when we make a video, I've said this 1,000 times, we always get wonderful comments and stuff where people tell us stuff that, oh, I'd love to do that. I need to put that in a video, but it's too late. It's been and gone. And one cool
mm,
thing was we did a few weeks ago a video near Westfield Lock on the Stroud Water
mm,
navigation, and at the end of that we moaned a lot. So if you watch that video within 24 hours of it being released, we moaned a lot about the guy that owned Forest Green Rovers behind Westfield Lock because he had blocked access to Westfield Lock. So
mm,
they had to cancel all their summer working parties, the Cotswold Canal Trust, because of this dude. He didn't get access to his site from the council, something didn't go his way with the council. So he blocked us and said, fine, I'm going to throw my toys out. We then got 1,000 emails from the Cotswold Canal Trust and said, oh, really sorry, could you take that out of the video because we don't want relationships to be damaged
oh,
and all that.
yeah.
So 24 hours in, we took that out of the video. But lo and behold, to us, 2 days later, access was granted. And Mr. Vince Dale, or Dale Vince, or whatever his name was, the owner of Forest Green Rovers. Now, I'm not taking credit for that, but do you know what?
Mm,
If we had anything to do with it, then happy days. It's a bit of a little victory of the presence of what social media can do, perhaps. But yeah, we had a bit of a moan
mm,
about him. We then took it down. Loads of people made comments about it, saying, "Oh, that's shocking, that's shocking." I removed all those comments single-handedly. But now, thank goodness, Westfield Lock is back in action and they can carry on digging it out. Or it will be called the John Robinson Lock, I think, because a dude left a lot of money for it to be done. So the Stroud Water navigation is back on track. There's
yep.
only a mile to go. Of all the abandoned canals we look at, where people have got these wonderful visions of putting a canal back in place that was abandoned 100 years ago and they've got 50 miles to go, Stroud Water
Mm,
navigation is as close as you'll get to a project where it's back in action. So yeah,
cool.
wonderful stuff.
Cool.
Wonderful stuff. One more bit of news for you, Headley, and this is more personal advice to anybody. Never put out a Facebook reel. There you go.
Why not?
That's it. I'm
Why
done.
not?
The comments, right? Honestly, You think YouTube comments are bad, right? Like we'll read some YouTube comments and they'll be a bit bad, they'll be a bit insulting, right? But
I
Waterford's
think
bad,
we
right?
both got stuck in on
We
that one
exactly,
recently.
we've
But
been there
yes,
and done that, right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to Facebook real comments. So YouTube says to you, you must put out YouTube shorts. If you want your channel to move forward, you need to put out YouTube shorts. So it's like the modern day TikTok,
Mm,
Instagram reels, and all that. So by way of doing that, we produce that. We produce those shorts to go on YouTube, but we also put it on Instagram reels. We put it on TikTok, all those different places where social media is supposed to work. We put it on Facebook reels. Oh my goodness me. It is a absolute swamp of hate you've never seen in your life. So, brief story, cutting a long story short. If you imagine a YouTube video is 1080p, right? So it's
yeah,
essentially landscape. So when you make a short, it has to go short like this.
yeah.
You can't help it. It goes to portrait, right? I must have got the Facebook reels get a lot of views. I don't know how they do it. I did a Facebook reel on the Silchester, the Roman town of Silchester, 600,000 views, right? And with that came more hate than I've ever encountered in my entire life. And it's like, oh, you're just you're just showing yourself on camera. You're not showing us. You can't pronounce this. You get every single comment. So there you
But
go.
isn't every comment good for the algorithm?
Well, if it did, I don't know. I don't know how the Facebook algorithm works, but
Because
oh,
well, if I mean, if the popularity of a video on YouTube, for example, or the distribution is based on the number of comments, number of interactions,
yeah,
then what you should be doing is you do a perfectly good video like you do on locks, canals, and
yeah.
etc. And at the end, just look at the camera and go, "I hate you all," and then you'll have
Yeah.
millions of comments,
What?
and you'll be all over YouTube. Something
All
like
right.
that.
New tactic. I'm doing that this weekend. Let's do it. I
That's
hate
why
you
I
all.
don't have many followers on YouTube. Just
Right.
kidding.
I'm done with
Right.
my
So
news,
what I
Eddie.
will say,
That is my news done.
that is your news. So what I will say, just quickly, is you keep freezing on the screen. So
Okay.
assuming you're not seeing me freezing up much,
I don't
I'll
think so.
kind of carry on when I can hear you. So yeah, I've had a very busy 3 weeks. I spent some time with Dr. Alex Langlands, who used to be on Time Team.
Oh yeah.
He's going to be doing a talk at our upcoming exhibition. Probably not on the private viewing, but later on he's doing a talk on Wansdyke. So myself, Anna Dillon, and her father Patrick went for a walk around Old Sarum. Old Sarum, the older version of Salisbury, as they call it. And he's showing us all the different excavations he's done there, and I was doing some photography for him. He wanted a shot of Old Sarum in the foreground and Salisbury Cathedral above it,
Yeah.
behind.
Brilliant.
Now there's two elements you need for that. First of all, you need a drone, because you need to be up the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
level
yeah.
and the right place. And second, you need a telephoto lens on the drone. So I've been using that, and we got some shots, and we then went to have some nice lunch, and then went to the other side of Salisbury to get the reverse shot. So you have the spire in the foreground and Old Sarum in the background. Didn't work quite so well that way around, I'll be honest with
Okay.
you, but we certainly
Yeah.
got the shots that we needed. Then I went to see David Abram do a presentation in Dorchester-on-Thames. Now, David Abram is kind of think of him as the king of aerial photography in the UK. And if you are listening, David, which he's probably not, he's probably, to be honest with you, nodding in agreement, because he is. So he gave us it was a long presentation. It was about 3 hours.
Wow.
And that was he has a very unique way of getting shots. So what I do is I tend to go out on a photo shoot, take 200 shots of Wessex somewhere, and then refine it down to 2 or 3 shots, and then put one photo on YouTube, not YouTube, on Instagram and Twitter every single day. What David does is he seems to spend a month planning a single shot. So he will go up somewhere in Scotland where there's hill fort or something like that, and he will actually pitch up his tent in that place the night before.
Okay.
So he'll get evening shots and morning shots, and then all he has to do is erase himself and his tent out of the shot. So definitely an interesting evening that.
Wow.
I went down to do a video to help with a video on the Test Way, with a couple. Not sure if you've heard of them before, but Paul and Rebecca Whitewick had a bit of an accident. I'll be honest with you. I'm still a week and a bit on. I'm still a week and a half on. I'm still hobbling. Twisted both ankles, pulled a leg muscle, I think. Now, right ankle's better, but the left foot is still slightly swollen, and my leg is kind of black with bruising still. So I'm gradually getting back. But I just want to thank you and Rebecca for effectively rescuing me. And if you watch Paul and Rebecca's video, actually, this is great. So the video was on the testway and how it follows or doesn't follow the river test, as stated on the Hampshire County Council website. And halfway through filming, I had a bit of an accident. I walked backwards into a bit of a hole in the path, and so all the bits where we're down by the river and I'm filming, I'm in absolute agony. I can't stand, but I've still got to kind of act for the camera. And
didn't we make a few people guess where the injury was in the film? I think so. Yes. I think there was only one person that said like right, or everyone said towards the end, right at the end, and I'm thinking, oh, you've done pretty well in heavy.
Oh, I got away with a couple of scenes there.
Yeah.
I mean, the giveaway is that the first few scenes when we're up on Gallows Down, beautiful area, obviously, but I'm bouncing around all happy and everything. We're walking, and then the last few scenes, it sounds like I've had a couple of scotches. My hair's all off to one side, and I'm red and gritting my teeth. So yeah. So I went to Donington Castle with my mother. That was good fun. Always a nice little trip. So not a full day out by any means, but it's a nice spend, 45 minutes there. We set up Wessex Airscapes, the exhibition, which opens, I'm not going to say this weekend because I don't know when this podcast goes out, but opens on the 8th of July.
Yep.
One or two of privileged people will be having a private thing on the 7th. But certainly the 8th of July, Saturday, we open, and we run all the way through to the 15th of October. And we've got about 50 exhibits, I think, there. So self-plugging over. I went to see the King's birthday fly past on the roof of Heathrow Airport, as one does. I did a hot walk around Sparsholt and Segsbury along the Ridgeway. I went down. When you tried to make that video of Swift Ditch and you couldn't get there,
yes,
I went there just to make a video to tease you. So I went down and
you showed me a bit of that, didn't you? Yes, you did.
yeah. I thought I was on the way down. I was like, how do I write a limerick to take the mickey out of Paul, because I got there.
Right. So the question is that now open?
Yeah.
Can you walk? I mean, you got to the Swift Ditch, which I assume you could do from the other direction anyway. But could you now go the direction now the railway's open? Is they open that pathway yet?
Well, I looked at it from the drone. The bridge looks like it's finished, but there's still one or two JCBs there, so I don't know.
That's what I was
But
concerned
it
about.
would be easier. If you go towards Abingdon instead and park in the car park there's a path directly to Swift Ditch, and it's only a 15-minute walk. So, we had the Hail and Thunder, where that was interesting. Around here we had Hail and Thunder, which road next to us got struck. My friend's tree was struck. Anna was in her car apparently, and that got struck. So there's a video of her swearing. I went to Purborough Castle, which is I know you'd like this. Purborough Castle is a really old, forgotten Iron Age hill fort, high up in the Berkshire Downs, near Compton. You can't get to it; it's on private land. But if you happen to have a camera that has propellers, then you can certainly get some good shots of it. So that's a really, really nice one. I don't know who the landowner is, but it would be nice to establish access there if possible.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really. There's one other thing, but it'll be the main thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And also we've got a book coming out. So Anna, myself, and Patrick.
I was going to say you didn't mention this, Ed, until I saw it on your social media a week ago or less.
Yeah.
I know you did a film, obviously, but
I've done a film. I'll send you the link to that later. That officially comes out the weekend for the exhibition, and we've got a book called Elevating Wiltshire, and it's written by Patrick Dillon, which is of course Anna's dad, and then bits by myself and Anna with her artwork and my photography, and it's a nice glossy book, and it's we've thrown everything at this. It's been quite a few weeks.
Let's plug it a bit, Eddie. When can you get hold of that book? How do you, as a I don't know, subscriber to ours, get that
Well, you
book.
can, for the time being, you can get hold of it straight. You can reserve a copy now,
Yeah.
and pick it up from the museum.
Right. So
Go
can
to
you send me
the
a link? Can people buy it online? Because people are going to buy it online.
yeah. So the link will be down in the
Right. Do that.
doobly-doo below. But just
Brilliant.
in case there's any problem with that, if you go to the Wiltshire Museum
Yeah.
and then go to events, you'll see Wessex Airscapes, our event in there as the exhibition. And then somewhere on the page there, you can book. We've got 3 summer walks coming up, assuming I can walk by then. We have the book available, and obviously there's the exhibition itself. So, and we've got lots of different talks. We've got Mike Pitts coming in to do a talk on the private viewing. That'd be quite good. Say Alex Langland's doing a talk. We've got Patrick Dillon doing a talk. So we've got a lot of people doing talks. So we really are, to be honest with you, and I don't want to sound like I'm plugging it and pee people off, but we have thrown everything at this. So yeah, it's 2 years worth of work.
Like I say, depends when the films come. Depends when the podcast's coming out. It depends how quick I can edit it. But yeah, so we'll be there on the Saturday, on the 8th. So come and say hello. Yeah. I don't know what time we'll be there, but between 10 and 2 probably, or thereabouts, or something like that.
So if this podcast comes out before the 8th of July, you, the viewer, the listener, can visit and meet the legendary Paul Whitewick and the legendary Rebecca Whitewick
at Wiltshire Museum. Very exciting.
At Wiltshire Museum. Yeah, it's very good. Very good. Cool. Excellent. So that's my 3 weeks.
That is your 3 weeks
worth.
Well, obviously, I've done one of those things as well, which is a walk on the Testway. We've done a couple of other bits. We walked again near your neck of the woods, Headley, which was we did the Dorchester on Thames walk. Whitnam Clumps. We didn't go up Whitnam Clumps, but we tried to find that video. Did very well, surprisingly, because it wasn't my best work, if I'm honest with you. We just
good location though.
Yeah, lovely location, all around the Dyke. What's it called? The Dyke Hills.
Dyke Hills.
Dyke Hills. Yeah.
So with the Dyke Hills, correct me if I'm wrong. I was speaking to I've forgotten his name. Some professor. Anyway, he's gonna hate me if he's watching this. Never mind. I was speaking to this lovely gentleman who is very knowledgeable. He's currently doing a project to reshape the Uffington White Horse. Been doing a bit of drone photography for that as well. And he was telling me all about the Dyke Hills, Dorchester. So to be clear, this is Dorchester on Thames, not Dorchester down in Dorset. And it's a beautiful place, and it's a good day out because Dorchester, there's kind of an alpaca farm with a cafe, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, we walked past that. Yes.
And then you've got Dorchester Abbey. You've got and then you've got the Dyke Hills, and then of course Whitnam Clumps and all that area. So it is genuinely a full day out. But you have the Dyke Hills. So the Thames comes down from the north, and then when it reaches Whitnam Clumps, it does a 90-degree turn to the east. Now that actually at that point it's called the Isis, but for the purpose of this one, we'll call it the Thames. And then parallel with the Thames as it comes down from the north, you've got the River Tame, which squiggles down as well. And where the confluence with the Thames is, so what you have there is it creates effectively a big U shape of rivers. Now the Dyke Hills close off the top of that U shape. So I can see you frantically getting.
I just thought, whilst you're saying that, I may as well get up on screen.
Whilst I'm saying that, so I'll kind of string this out a little bit to allow you to get Bing Maps up and get to there. So when you get there, if you position it so you see the Thames. Right, so you've got the Thames coming down north to south on the western side, then it bends around, goes towards the east, and then you've got the River Thames squiggling down, so it creates kind of a U shape, sort of an elongated U shape, and the Dyke Hills run across the top of that to close it off as a square. So what you're looking at there, correct me if I'm wrong, but that wouldn't have just been a settlement, maybe Roman, but or Iron Age actually, I don't know. A huge settlement, and not just a huge settlement, but a huge settlement with a port. So over towards the western side of that, where the Thames comes down,
Yeah.
just by Day's Lock,
Yeah.
the Thames has been kind of shaped. There's a few sort of inlets
Yes.
that look like maybe it used to be
Yeah.
a port.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get all the metal detectorists out, so to speak. Nothing wrong with them, but it's just that they're probably not allowed to. But that whole area effectively could have been maybe not the capital, of Wessex or anything, but it could have been one of the biggest settlements in at that time in history.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think actually going a little bit later, that probably would have been Mercia. I think the Thames forms roughly the boundary between Wessex to the south and Mercia to the north. I think.
See, our focus on the day was very much the Roman road, and there's basically two main trains of thought. So from the south, you've got Mackney, just between Wallingford and Brightwell, Sotwell. Anyway, so the Roman road goes north-south, and effectively, through the middle of Dorchester town. But the question is, where did it cross the Thames? Now, Mr. Roman Road himself, Ivan Margery, said it followed the road, Henley Road, all the way down towards Shillingford. And when it got to the junction with the A4074, it then took a southwest path across the Thames. Up the hill towards Brightwell comes Sotwell, if that's how you pronounce it.
That's it. So it says Roman Road on the map there, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yes, it says Roman Road. That. Now, any way you see OS say Roman Road, by and large, they base it on Ivan Margery's work. So if you look at what the evidence is for that and their justification for that, it will say Ivan Margery said in his book, Roman Roads of Great Britain, page 47, subsection 2, mark 12. They will just cite Ivan Margery. They won't necessarily say, oh, we know this because there's archaeological dig, etc., etc. 9 times out of 10, Ivan Margery will be quoted. Anyway, the fascinating thing is, you mentioned the River Tame.
Yes.
Now, if you go to the bottom of the River Tame where it joins the Thames, there's a pathway just to the west side of the River Tame. Now, if you have a look at a very old set of maps from 1880, 1890, the early OS ones, it says supposed Roman ferry. And I thought, well, that's fascinating, that's worth a look. So the whole notion of the video was to try and find if there's any evidence of any Roman Road Aga in Little Whittenham Woods, or is there any evidence of Aga where Ivan Margery said the Roman Road went? And which one of those were true? Basically, we found.
I think those. I would. I mean, not wanting to draw you back to revisit the area, but that whole area of Little Whittenham Woods there. So from where you're talking about, where the Tame meets the Thames.
Yes.
Now the opposite side of the river. So we're now in Little Whittenham Woods to the south.
Yeah.
Did you went down the little footpath down to the river?
There's a footpath down there where it says your Earth Trust. So you can walk down there. There's no footpath. Obviously, a lot of that you can walk on. So we did go, and we couldn't see anything, Eddie. This was the disappointing thing. I expected to see something, but we found nothing.
But that footpath, if you follow it back to the main footpath, and then it actually crosses over that and then follows all the way back up towards Brightwell Barrow. And I'm wondering if there are more clues that side of it, down towards where it says Felmore Copse.
Yes.
It's a great little spot there. Really, really nice. It's intriguing. And there seems to be some, I might be wrong here, but I think there's some earthworks in the woods there. But
really?
I'll have to have maybe I need to go and have another look.
That'd be good.
But certainly there's a ditch there with a spring, and the path kind of tracks down the side of it. So lovely little area, very secluded, very very picturesque, and you won't see another person there. Fair. And then if you follow that up, actually, and this is worth a visit just for the views, where you go to Brightwell Barrow, I mean, you can't actually get to the Barrow because it's private land. Although I am now friends with a farmer, vaguely. He's a nice bloke. Between Brightwell Barrow and Castle Hill, on the side of Brightwell Barrow where the path kind of goes off at a slight angle. That's a beautiful place to launch a drone in the evening and get some shots of both the clumps and Brightwell Barrow. Absolutely, I say it all the time,
up, doesn't
stunning.
It sits up on a hill there, doesn't it?
Yep, absolutely gorgeous.
Not too
up
much
there.
lower than the Whittingham clumps themselves.
No, it's not. But it's in the winter, it's very awkward because the fields are ploughed and it's just mud up there. But in the summer, absolutely gorgeous.
Okay. So after this, a few days after this, I got an email saying, "Oi, Paul Whitewick, do you want a bike?" And I said yes. So these lovely people at Himaway gave me a bike, Himaway e-bikes. Now this is going to form the basis of my chit chat in a little while. So I decided to ride this newfound bike I've got on part of my favourite railway, the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway.
I saw the video.
Yeah, it's flopping like a tank, but it was always going to because it's sponsored. Blah blah blah. So who cares? I got a bike for nothing, so I'm chuffed.
your midlife crisis is being paid for. So there we go.
Ticked. Absolutely. So I'm gonna
let me know if you can ever get a sponsorship deal for this podcast for Kawasaki motorbikes. Let me know.
That might be a step too far. You never know. You never know.
You never know
what the future holds. Headley, with two old men waffling. So I'm not going to waffle about that now. I'll waffle about whenever we're ready to waffle. But I'd love to talk about the Midlands and do a journey on this podcast along the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway, because on Sunday I've got a video coming out called "All Lines Lead to London," and it's a railway video, and it's kind of the story of how we came to the point where Beeching wielded his axe in the 1963, and it's just a video talking about that. There's nothing overly groundbreaking or exciting other than the fact it's a visual pleasure. So I've managed to obtain quite a bit of old footage. I did a really cool walk on some abandoned railway bits, and I filmed this whole piece on kind of where the railways went wrong and how they ended up looking like they kind of all point to London, basically. And I've had such a good time filming that, and it's a really exciting kind of visual thing I want to show everybody. So I'm really excited about that. But that's a whole other story. I'm going to talk about my favourite railway, Headley. At least you want to talk first. What are we doing?
No. You go first.
Yeah. Right. So if you're sitting comfortably with a cup of tea, because we've got another question in, by the way, for this podcast, which is quite interesting.
I've got some as well by the looks of it.
Right,
we'll put those.
We'll put those at the back, won't we? Right.
Put those at the back.
So I'm going to talk about. One thing I always thought as a kid that was boring is dates. I'm not going to go. In 1881, the Midland and South Western Junction Railway was built, and tell you all the different facets of it. It was called many different parts. It was called, eventually amalgamated into the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway. But when I was a kid, and through on into my adult life, and I would drive north, I always used to go through Swindon, up the A419, up the M5, etc. And one place I always used to pass, which I'm looking on a map now, is the southern side of Savernake Forest. And I'll put that on Google Maps, and I'm even going to put the little person, so anyone watching on YouTube version of this can see what I'm looking at, but for those that aren't, I will try and describe it. When you drive up the hill on the southern side of Savernake Forest, you can see two embankments within about 100 yards of each other, and they clearly used to cross the road there. So if you go 100 yards down the hill, there's another embankment just there, literally. So there's one in the distance, and there's one right next to. So 100 yards up this hill on the south side of Savernake Forest, there's two railway embankments, and I always kind of wondered what they're there for. And it took me to sort of probably my early 30s to actually read up and learn about it. Why were they there? And one of those lines was an early incarnation of a GWR railway. So GWR built their railway, which went the Hampshire Berkshire Extension Railway. I think it was 1854, and it went sort of from Newbury, Hungerford, on down past Devizes and all that. And a businessman in Marlborough said, right, I want a railway too. Build me a railway. Build me a branch line from Marlborough down to your main line on the south side of Savanac. So they did that, and they built this railway, and it was rubbish. It was broad gauge, it was really steep, and it went all the way around Savanac. It went around the hill, cut through the Wansdyke, and it was steep and rubbish, and it was falling into disrepair. And yeah, so part of the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway from Marlborough north, so from Marlborough on up towards Swindon, well, they used that branch line. So they connected the branch line and extended it on up to Swindon. And that's where I cycled. And I cycled that part on, oh God, when was it? A week and a half ago. It doesn't really matter.
So is the whole line accessible via bike and foot?
No, not at all. But it is in sections,
okay.
yeah. So for example, you can cycle all the way from Marlborough, all the way up, what route is it? Does it tell me on this map? I want to say like 482. Yeah, 482. And you can go for miles, all the way up through Ogbourne, St George. You go all along the Roman Road into Chiseldon. You can go then down into sort of South Swindon. You can follow it past Coatswater, and you can keep on going on this cycle route all the way over to Rushy Platt, and then north of Swindon. It's great. So that is, and by and large, does follow 90% of the Midlands South Western Junction Railway between those two towns. It then turns into cycle route 45 and eventually disappears before the Heritage Railway there. But it tells such a fascinating story, and so the railway, this railway in its own right, this north-south railway, was always blighted by its inability to sort of get trains over GWR. So at where are we? Just looking on a map again. Yeah, so at that junction south of Savanac Forest, I can't remember. Well, Wolf Hall Junction. That's it, Wolf Hall Junction. The trains had to get onto the GWR line and then back off of the GWR line on north to Marlborough, and they were always held up. You know, the signalmen sort of were said to deliberately hold up trains, and it was a pain for 20 years until they took on a man called Sam Fay. And Sam Fay would later work for Great Central Railway and all these wonderful companies, and he revolutionised this railway. He sacked a load of people and said, right, this is how we're going to do it. He changed everything about it. He managed to get the funds to build a route over the top of the GWR main line, so forget GWR completely, and they built a new line parallel to the GWR one that went to Marlborough. They built a tunnel instead of going on that big gradient that I said was a problem, so they built Savanac Tunnel. And they built Marlborough low-level station. So all of a sudden, Marlborough had two stations, albeit for a short period of time: Marlborough high level, Marlborough low level. And so when you go into Marlborough from the south, and you see the railway bridge. To your left-hand side was Marlborough high level, and to the right-hand side was Marlborough low level. So all of a sudden they sort of flattened the line around Savanac. They built a tunnel, another station. And there's a wonderful complexity of railways to the south of Savanac, and it left us with earthworks aplenty, and that is the reason why they had sort of competing lines almost to a degree within 10 yards of each other. So for a while GWR was still using their branch up to Marlborough, but it almost became redundant once Sam Fay took over the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway in terms of the management. That GWR line almost became redundant because all of a sudden they had their north-south route. And that's a short history of that section of the line, and there's so many more facets. The same sort of thing happened at Rushy Platt near Swindon, but I won't go into the detail now because it's a whole nother GWR grumble. But if you go to the west of Swindon, at Rushy Platt, which is near Mannington or Kings Hill, where you can still see the old platforms. And again, in next week's video, you'll see an old clip of Rushy Platt station from sort of 1930s. But it's wonderful. I would very much advocate, if you are in the south of England and you do like your cycling, the cycle route between Marlborough and Swindon is wonderful. And even the little station at Ogbourne St George, you can still see the old steps up and down towards the platform. There's so many hidden little things you can still find today along that line.
So you say with that, cycling that probably that would be suitable for e-bikes and mountain bikes, but not road bikes.
Very good point. Yeah, road bikes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it would be hard going. It's gravelled and it's flat and it's lovely and it's built for the bike. But yeah, it's not concrete. It's not tarmac.
No.
So you would be either getting a puncture pretty quick, or
coming off.
You'd be coming off and slipping all over the place. But it was a joy. I did 65 kilometres that day on that bike, largely because I was going back and forth filming quite a lot. But I was exploring loads as well. You can sort of go off the beaten track a little bit and see what you can, find there. I found some old carriages up at Chiseldon, because there was Chiseldon Camp near south of Chiseldon, where there was another platform. There's so many bits, but I got lost in Chiseldon trying to find the cycle route because it wasn't obvious. And didn't we as well, we discussed a few weeks back the old route of the Ridgeway.
Yes.
So it now currently in its form, it goes south down to Ogbourne, St George.
Yep.
In like a U shape. But
that's right. And then
how it interacts with the old Ridgeway, which I think is just a road through Chiseldon. Which
it meets it. I think it meets it at Barbary Castle. So you're
right. Yeah, Liddington Hill.
So so where you've got Barbary Castle, the current day Ridgeway, and we've got to be careful not to confuse the two. The current day Ridgeway is a national trail based largely on the accepted route of the original Ridgeway, which was kind of a load of different routes in the same sort of place that were used for trading and droving and everything. So I think the original inverted commas Ridgeway came up the northern flank of where Barbary Castle is, and then joined it afterwards.
Yes. I got
to the
right
west.
Yeah.
And then the current day Ridgeway climbs up and goes straight through the middle of Barbary Castle and then down Smeath Ridge towards Ogbourne and St George.
Exactly that. Spot on.
Yeah.
So I was really keen to find out where,
which is really nice.
Yeah, it looks lovely. Where the railway went down the actual ridge. So the old Ridgeway, obviously, followed the original Ridgeway past Liddington Castle and all that. Yeah. And I always thought to myself, when you drive along the M4, how does a railway get down there? And you know what? I still don't know to this day, because I cycled it, but the cycle route kind of meanders quite a lot, and I think the earthworks there have changed a heck of a lot. So it's quite difficult trying to follow the route. But I guess it just slowly follows the contour down, but it looks so steep.
Yeah, so they didn't have rack and pinion back then, did they?
No, not for this.
Surely not. Surely not. No.
Yeah, this railway was just getting down there somewhere, and it just followed the contour of the hill for about 2 or 3 kilometres there, I guess. But it remained a mystery. But I love this railway. I love the fact that for me this railway is kind of a personable railway, because the Savernake connection, the sort of the part of me that always wondered about those 2 embankments, and although that's a tiny little story of the whole of this railway, it's a railway that for me left Andover, my hometown, so all of a sudden I had this connection, and went up through Ludgershall, Colombourne, Grafton, on into Savernake, and you read so many stories of like the school at Marlborough, and how they used to get the coach from Swindon, and during the winter they were freezing cold on the back of the coach going down the road towards Marlborough, and how the railway revolutionised this, and how the coming of the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway, or whatever it's called at the time, the Swindon Cheltenham Railway, sort of even gave the school children a route into Marlborough, into their school. And it's fascinating, all these little stories of how it changed people's lives. And there's so many more stories. I've just briefly touched on that part of it there, but north of Swindon, Critlade, Cirencester, off of Cirencester, and Foss Cross, and Chedworth. So many fascinating stories around there. The tunnel at Chedworth, connection with the Roman villa, and on north up to obviously Cheltenham and the old Dowswell Viaduct. But I'll shut up, Headley, because I've done enough waffling about.
No, it's good. I've enjoyed that.
But I love
that.
I love that side of it.
I've been catching up on your 7 videos, all the different one about the 7 crossings.
Oh yeah.
Because that was great. I mean, these are a while back. These are last year,
Yeah.
but I'm currently fascinated. I want to do something on the Riven 7, and I'm not quite sure what yet. Probably something on the 7 board, to be honest with you, but
Yeah. Oh,
we
if
might
you
have
could
missed
catch
that
that.
with the full moon.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
there's timetables, aren't
There's a
there?
good
There's
website. Yeah.
timetables.
There's a few
Mm,
websites. I don't think there's any, or there
yeah,
wasn't any for the last sort of 6 months. Any really good. They rate it 5 stars, I think, or 1 to 5 stars.
yeah.
Um,
Well, you get your paddle board out, and I'll film you from the drone.
wow. I've downstairs. I've got a kayak ready for my weekend
Oh,
adventure.
now you're talking. Now you're
Yeah.
talking.
I've got
Now
two
you're
big
talking.
oars, but I
For
won't go into
you,
detail on
not
that.
me.
Yeah.
I'm too old and fat for that now.
So am I, Headley, but
Um,
yeah, I'm still gonna do it.
right. Okay. So yeah, before I come on to my subject, I just want to talk
Yep.
about a few walks. In fact, my subject will be about a walk, but
Yep.
we have three. I think there's still places. 3 walks coming up again through the Wiltshire Museum. These are organised fabulously by Glyn Coy from Hidden Wiltshire.
Ah, yeah.
So they were very good. They mentioned our podcast on their last episode. Now they're much bigger than we are,
Yep.
and anyone who likes this kind of podcast that we're doing about Wessex, particularly Wiltshire, listen to Hidden Wiltshire. They're great. They've come back. They've done 2 podcasts since they took a slight hiatus. And there's Paul and his, and of course we've got a chat group going with Glyn's carer, Paul Timlett, as well. So a lovely chap. But anyway, these 3 walks. So they're going to be August, September, and October. So they're essentially summer walks ish. One is at Avebury. They're not that long. They're probably about 5, maybe 6 miles. So one of them is going to be Avebury, which will include things like West Kennet and Silbury Hill. And then we have also got one at Westbury White Horse. So it goes around, Bratton Camp and down
Yeah.
to the valley and everything. That's going to be fairly steep, that one, in places, I believe, especially going downhill. But these are proper footpaths and everything. And the third one is going to be Tan Hill over in the Pewsey Vale,
Yeah.
which would be nice as well. And these all relate to parts of our exhibition as well. So
Yeah.
they're basically guided walks. Now, if you want to go on any of these, so they're 5 or 6 miles each with a few hills thrown in. They are, if you look at the Wiltshire Museum website, go to our exhibition, the Wessex Airscapes, and then you'll see an events section halfway down, and then you can sign up for one of these walks there.
Brilliant.
So yeah. So I guess it's treasure hunt time, isn't it?
Yeah, we do need some music that isn't the treasure hunt music because we'll probably get demonetized. Not that we're monetized, so it probably doesn't really matter. But we do need our own mystery treasure hunt music, I would suggest.
Sorry, I'm just pouring a pint. Oh, God.
Oh, look at
Look
that.
at that. That's terrible, isn't
That
it?
is-
What have I
you've-
done
you've
there?
I can't see
I've
the pint,
frothed
Headley.
up. I've frothed up. It's Guinness. I thought it wasn't. You got to pour Guinness in a different. That's one of our questions tonight. Someone's
to
asked
pour
what's my
Guinness?
drink tonight, and it's
Ah.
Guinness. So there we are. But I didn't think I was
you're
pouring
supposed to
Guinness. So I've.
you're supposed to kind of
Yeah,
somehow.
it's meant to be a bit more gentle than that. Anyway, okay, all right, let's get this done. So,
Right.
whereabouts should we start?
Yeah, fitting for the weekend, Headley. I'm going to start at Wiltshire Museum, which is right there in the middle of Devizes, next
Okay.
to a railway tunnel. Hooray!
Next to a railway tunnel.
Under the castle.
This could be a short one.
Oh, well, that's the
Genuinely could be a short.
Am I really warm
Do you want
already?
to kill off? You are really warm already. So
Ah.
I'm not going to tell you which direction to go in. I'll give you a hot or cold. So
All right.
you're at the Wiltshire Museum in Devizes, which
Yeah.
you will be this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you going? Where are you going from here?
All right. Well, yeah, I feel like I should get on the canal.
Okay.
And
Kennet and Avon Canal.
Kennet and Avon Canal and head north east, which will take
Okay.
me up the White Horse Trail and on towards Bishop Canning's and weave my way around the knoll.
Right. Okay. So that's where you and I did some filming once, didn't we?
Did, yeah.
You are very, very close there. So
Oh, look at
are
that.
you you're still on the canal,
I'm on
right?
the canal and I'm near all Cannings now. I'm near the old Long Barrow.
Are you now? Stop right
Right.
there.
Okay.
Get off,
Get off the canal. All
because
right.
of that we are starting at the Long Barrow.
Oh, look at that. I tell you what,
I'm.
Headley, that,
Do you know
you
what?
know, wow.
It's. I don't know how you do this.
Look
It's
at that.
you could have picked anywhere in the
I
south of
know.
England, and you picked a place less than 3 miles from where I'm
Ah,
actually
look.
starting.
There we go. There it is. I'm showing everybody now who has got the ability to view this on YouTube the wonderful. I was going to say man-made, but they're all man-made, aren't they?
Yeah,
The wonderful long barrow that has been built
the,
single-handedly by Mr. Daw.
the natural volcanic long
Yeah.
barrow, right? Um, so okay, so I will just let me yeah let's actually mention Tim at this point. So the long barrow at all Cannings is, on the face of it, when you see it, it's a long barrow. It looks like West Kennet Long Barrow. It
Yeah.
looks like Wayland Smithy, but the difference is, instead of being thousands and thousands of years old, it's only it's less than 10 years old, isn't it? It's
Something like that. Yeah, something
it
like that.
but it functions as a normal burial site. So in
Mm.
there are the remains of people. Now, I've been lucky enough to go in there. Tim Dorr, who owns it, lovely man. Actually had a few pints with him down the pub the other week. In fact, here being the story I'm telling now. He dug it using JCBs and stuff. It's in a lovely position in the bowl of the hills, also right on the Kennet and Avon Canal almost. And if you ask him nicely, if you know him, he might even show you inside. And inside, there's kind of, if I remember right, there were 4 chambers inside, 4 actual
Yeah.
sort of round chambers. And yeah, it's now, I think, again, Hidden Wiltshire did something on this, so they got more information than I got. But the temperature follows the seasons.
Yes.
So if you go in there in autumn, it's hot. It's like 25, 28 degrees because it was in summer. If you go in there in the middle of winter, it's a bit cooler. And if you go in there in spring or early summer, it's freezing cold. It's condensation, everything. So it's an amazing place to go, even just to sort of have a look at it from the outside. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I parked up here the other week with my cousin Georgie, and we decided to go on a long walk, and relatively long walk, about 11 miles, 11 maybe 12 miles. So I want to recommend this to the slightly more adventurous people who want to do a nice walk with incredible views. You won't beat this in the south of England for views. You just won't. This is a lovely walk. So we parked at all Cannings. Now, if I know Tim, and he was very kind in letting us park there. You might want to find somewhere nearby to park. There is a track there. I don't know who owns it, but you could park somewhere, maybe in nearby Allington or somewhere. I don't know, but assuming you've got somewhere to park, there it is. And the idea was to walk the West Wilts Way across to Martinsell Hill in blistering heat, 30 degrees, and then camp the night at the Barge Inn at Horton Barns. So we set off. Now, we went along the road instead of the path. We quickly realised it was getting very hot, and this was sort of mid-morning.
Yeah.
And it was clear it's going to be 30 something degrees, and this is a very exposed route. There's very few trees, and you're high up, so sun factor very, very high. So we decided to basically just set straight off and walk along the road. So you get to along the road, you go where it says Canning's Cross Farm. I'm guessing you're following this on OS map.
Yeah, I'm also showing a lovely picture because a lot of people have taken pictures from the actual long barrow. So yeah. Yep.
Nice. So you walk along the road to Canning's Cross Farm, and then there's a track that goes off to the left past the disused pit, and you can see it crossing a field. Now, that field last year, when it was absolutely parched dry, Glyn Coy sent his drone up. I was invited to do this as well, but unfortunately I was on holiday. But Glyn captured some amazing pictures from there. It seems there's a whole Roman village or something
Wow.
buried in that field.
So this is the field next to the road.
Yes.
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 Yeah, like a small kind of weird shaped.
Yeah. And then, so the path goes up north, and it goes. Can you see it goes up to where it says Cross Dykes up the side of Rybury Camp?
Yep.
Yep. So don't believe where it says reservoir.
Okay.
It was dry. It was hot up there. So Rybury Camp is Neolithic. I've got some video of this in the what I've done for the exhibition. The view from here, I'm going to run out of superlatives, but the view from here across the Milk Hill is superlative. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's across where Hill Barn is. It's a very dramatic view. You can see from the the lines how steep it is there.
Yeah.
And this is a long climb. This is going to be on the walk, one of the walks we're doing for the exhibition. So the path carries on up the side of Tan Hill.
Yeah.
So we then joined where it says Cross Dykes there. You've actually got Wansdyke going west to east. So we walked along there. And again, this is a very iconic land. The Wansdyke at this point is a huge ditch, obviously defensive in some way. In fact, talking of Wansdyke, its age is about to be revealed. It's been light dated.
You said there's a talk by your doctor. Is it him that's doing that then?
He's part of it, and there are two people.
Because I'd love to go to
that. Let me open what I believe is my calendar. July.
Because that's just brilliant. If they,
Right. Patrick's is on the 18th. Hang on a minute. So this walk is on the 9th of August.
Yeah.
I don't have the actual date of Alex's talk. Oh no, I do. I think it's the 12th of September.
Okay.
12th of September.
And that will potentially reveal a bit more info than we already know about the ones.
I don't know. It's been dated using light techniques where they take a cylindrical sample and then they analyze the shades of the sample that have been affected by light. I don't know how it works.
Wow.
But they've now come up. Yeah. They've come up with a definitive date for Wansdyke, the age of it. Now,
wow.
I know two people that have got this information, but both of them are sworn to secrecy until it's actually revealed. I don't think. Well, I'm not going to make any promises. I don't think it'll be revealed by the date of that talk. I might be wrong. Because Alex Langlands, the time team guy doing the talk, he does know the results. So his talk will be fascinating, with or without knowing how old it actually is. It's going to be a fascinating talk.
Yeah. So do we? So, I mean, we believe it to be like massively approximate. I'm not suggesting this is going to be anything, but we believe it to be post-Roman, pre-Norman, 800 AD or Common Era, or whatever they want to call it. We believe it to be within a 200 years either side of sort of 800.
At this point, we don't know its purpose. It looks defensive.
Yeah.
But
that's
I mean,
that's all we know, right?
But it's and it wouldn't have just been a local effort to build this. This would have been a kingdom-wide effort. This is a huge earthwork. So I think a lot of it is about to be revealed.
Right. Well, I mean,
so
for
anyway,
context to our viewers and listeners, it's in two sections, and they're both at least 8-9 miles long each.
Yeah.
And Headley, you've got a million amazing photos of it, sort of spanning over the hills and all sorts. But it is dramatic.
So from there, we walked along to where it says Tumulus. Now this is now Milk Hill. There were a lot of cows there, but they're all friendly cows. They're David Carson's cows, which means they're polite, educated, and articulately spoken cows, all wearing tweed. Hi, David. Oh, he's so gonna kick me out of the chat group for that one. But can't believe I did that. So anyway, Milk Hill, as you can see, is labelled as 295 metres, which makes it the highest spot in Wiltshire by about half a foot, because Tanhill earlier, I think
294.
it was Country File back in 2008 or something, did a little bit of a measurement of the two hills electronically to see which was actually the highest point in Wiltshire, and it turned out Milk Hill, I think, was about half a foot higher than Tanhill.
Right.
So that's 1-0 David Carson versus Tim Dorr, I think.
Okay. Well,
you see, yeah.
span the difference
So
between the two.
and we went to the pub with them both this night anyway. So you then, from Milk Hill, you go. There's a nice shady spot where it says Cross Dyke at the top.
Yeah.
And you can see a little blue square there.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful trees there. So up until this point, we're in the baking sun. We're on top of a hill. There's no sheltering from. There's no shade at all until you get to this point, and there's just a small gathering of trees on top. There's also a funny stone that's been put there with something written on it. I can't remember what it is, but from this point, you've got a beautiful view, absolutely beautiful view, in all directions, nearly all directions, especially looking back the way you've come. And it's a great place to just sit down, have a drink, get some shade, or in the winter sit down, have a coffee, and then you carry on. And now it's kind of relabeled as the White Horse Trail here. And you go past the Alton Barnes White Horse. Look out for it, because you don't know you're on it, so to speak, but you do go right past its ears. And then you go on to probably one of the most amazing spots in Wiltshire, Adam's Grave, which is on Walker's Hill. Now, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this have been on Adam's Grave. It's basically I think it's Neolithic barrow, right on top of a hill, views in every single direction. Little scramble up to the top, to be perfectly honest with you. But so on a wet winter's day, you might not want to do it unless you like sliding down on chalk. But when you're at the top, views are amazing. And this day was very hot, no wind at all, strangely. Well, that's good. Excuse me. So then we walk down towards the car park, as you can see, crossing the road.
Yep.
And then up to Knapp Hill, again, another Neolithic causewayed enclosure.
Yeah.
So I mean, all of this is really old. This is much older than Iron Age and everything. This is really, really old stuff. And you follow the path for quite a long way, follows the scarp of the hill. So it's called the Midwilts Way, but it's also at this point called Tan Hill Way. Yeah. And you follow along, and again, we had another little rest, just some trees up here at Gopher Wood. So you get to Gopher Wood, and the path sort of leaves the scarp of the hill. So you for a short time, you leave this amazing view, and you go what I called inland. You're going away from the scarp. Yeah. And it goes down there through some woods, and then you get down to a big path of the junctions at the bottom, as you can probably see. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. Yeah, and I think this was probably an extremely valid meeting point. So you can see you've got the White Horse Trail going off to the north. You've got the Midwilts Way, Tan Hill Way, going in all directions, and then you've got the main path going down to Hewish Farm at the bottom, the manor farm there. And there's something about this place here where there's earthworks, there's paths, there's everything meets in this one place, and I don't know anything about it.
Highly likely, that the stones for Stonehenge were dragged along that pathway, the White Horse Trail, from just above the West Woods, on that very pathway.
That's very steep down there. You'd want to be behind the stones and not in front of them going down that bit, trust me.
Well, there was even some speculation from Mr. Nash, the man that did the whole geophysics on the stones, and he said, why not maybe drag the stones past Knapp Hill, because maybe there was some kind of symbolic place at the Neolithic camp there, or perhaps they would have gone south, as you say, down the steep hill somehow through Hewish, but either way, that your crossroads you're talking about there, would have quite likely seen the stones at some point. Fascinating.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I knew it was special in some way. Now at this point on a hot day, you want to start making a few decisions, because we were probably about 7 or 8 miles in now, and between the two of us, we got through 5.5 bottles of water so far.
Yeah.
and almost no food. On a hot day like that, you kind of, even a guy like me doesn't feel hungry, and you find
Yeah.
yourself flagging a bit. So
Yeah.
you want something in your water, electrolytes or something. And this point, we're like, well, shall we go down towards Hewish? Shall we descend here? Because the original plan was to go up Giant's Grave to the east of Orr,
Yeah.
but it's so hot and that is so steep that we thought that it might be better. We didn't want to. It's not a quit while we're ahead job, but it's kind of. We think that would have been very, very difficult to do in this heat.
Yeah.
Especially as we
it's a
still had
mad
tents
hill, yeah.
to set up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead, we carried along the Tanhill Way, or now as it's called, the White Horse Trail. I'm pretty sure it's still Mid Wilts Way. It's got three, it's different
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
names
isn't it? Yeah.
along the top, and it goes over Hewish Hill. And again, this bit you don't really know you're on top of a hill anymore because you're not near the edge or anything.
Yeah.
And it's just normal kind of country lanes with a little bit of shade, thankfully. And then you cross the road, the main road,
Yep.
as hopefully you can see.
Yep.
And this is the point where we caught up with some cubs and brownies that had overtaken us a couple of miles before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we set off up there, and there's a bit of a climb up towards where it says Square Plantation. That bit's lovely. It's beautiful, and the views
the
down
woods through there. Yes.
the woods. You got the steepness of the scarp with woods on it.
Yeah.
It is private land at the bottom. Rainscombe House it's owned by some Tory lord. I can't remember who it is, but you don't really want to be trespassing down there.
Yeah.
And then the path just goes and dives into the woods. Now we were overtaken again here by the brownies and the cubs, but that's youth for you. They seemed fine. Felt like asking them if they had any spare water, but never mind. And you go through Withy Copse. Now Withy Copse is it feels like it's probably, I don't like to use the word haunted, but if anywhere's haunted, it is Withy Copse.
Wow.
Because you've got earthworks in there.
Yeah.
It's a very, very old woodland. It's not like one of these planned woodlands. This is big old trees in there.
Well,
really cool in there.
Had you have dug around in Withy Copse, you'd have found a hole in the ground. And the hole in the ground is a rubbish dump. But it's not just any rubbish dump, it's a Neolithic rubbish dump.
Neolithic rubbish dump?
Yep. It was called a midden or kitchen. And there, I couldn't find it exactly, but I think we found where it was. But there's a whole load of supposed things like shells, old animal bones, literally rubbish. So when they'd finished, eating whatever they were eating, they would just discard the bones and the bits and pieces, and it would all go in this bit in Withy Copse.
And
that's nice. On the archaeological sort of records.
See, I knew there was, again, these places. It's one of those walks where we hadn't researched it beforehand what was actually there. We knew where we were going roughly, and this bit we weren't even meant to be doing, but I would still recommend doing this bit.
Oh, it's a gorgeous walk. It really is. The woods there are just amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely incredible. So we went down to the crossroads there at Withy Copse, and we decided to go south at that point, go over the western side of Martinsell Hill, across the fields. Now this is where the sun was at its strongest. It was really, really hot. We were now down to about half a bottle of water, and then we got through 8 bottles of water by this time. And then we went past your bench where it says 289 on Martinsell Hill, which overlooks the Pewsey Vale. I think this is probably the biggest elevation difference you can get anywhere in Wiltshire, Oxfordshire, with the exception of Uffington Whitehorse, maybe. Anywhere, this incredible. And they got your seat there where you proposed to Rebecca. The seat itself is now completely buggered.
I mean, shame, obviously I think it's
a combination of rain and energetic people have destroyed but won't go down that track too far. And then we just basically tracked around the eastern face of Martinsell Hill, and then down past what I believe are the clay pits down to the car park where Georgie's car was waiting. And from there, so it doesn't quite finish there. So what we did is we were quite tired and hot at this time. So we drove, got my car, and then went to the barge inn at Alton Barnes, which is lovely. It's by the canal and everything. It's where we're staying. But we sort of checked into the campsite without looking at the campsite, and this is no disrespect to them. It's a lovely place to stay. Food's lovely, drinks lovely as well. And we had a nice cool glass of lemonade each, just to rehydrate and collect our thoughts. But the problem is, the weekend we went on was a weekend when they were completely booked, and there seemed to be several pagan festival things happening there and birthday party. And I was at that point, I was like, do we join in, or do we pull the plug on this because we need to sleep? And so we decided to pull the plug. We left the money there for the campsite because we'd booked a place, and it was a bit rude to just sort of pull out. But and it's a lovely place to stay, don't get me wrong. I think we picked the one weekend of the year when stuff was happening like this. And I called David Carson and asked him if he had an alternative, and he was very kind. He said, well, I've got an orchard you can use. And I was like, of course, in your garden you've got an orchard. How silly of me, I should have asked. And so he let us camp, thankfully, in the orchard, where we had access to his bathroom and everything. And in the corner of the orchard was a little spring where the River Avon starts and everything. And in the morning we looked around his churches, as you do, and it was just really, really nice. It was, I haven't been camping in a while, and it was good. It's good fun.
Brilliant.
So I recommend, if anyone wants that route, let me know,
Yeah.
and I can send them the Strava thing that I did. But if you're looking for a lengthy, hilly 11-12 mile route, can't go wrong with that. Just remember, you need a car at each end, because it's not circular. Unless you're doing 24 miles and you're absolutely insane.
Yes, especially on a day like that.
But especially on a day like that. So that's me.
Brilliant.
Did you want to do? So we did ask a couple of questions. We've already answered one. Are there any questions?
Well, we had one from James Lawrence, who said, where is the best place to get your hill fort frills? I mean, I'll let you do that, Eddie, because you're obviously the drone photography chap. So,
Where do you start with this? Well, an immediate ones spring to mind: Beacon Hill at Burghclere, if you're good at climbing; Uffington Whitehorse, Uffington Castle. If you're walking your dog, Segsbury is good. Nice, big one there. I would recommend Warbury Hill, but I think it's all private land on top now. But let's think a bit bigger. So we've got, in Wiltshire, Liddington is probably my favourite. Liddington Castle, and you've got Barbary Castle as well. Both of them are really, really stunning. Both of them got really good views. Liddington hasn't got a car park, and because of that, there's fewer people there. So if you want one where there's fewer people,
can
Liddington.
You get there? Because it doesn't look like you can get there on the map, but
so you can park. There's I don't like to use the word lay-by, a verge on the road at the bottom where the Ridgeway goes down to the east. It's not a very nice piece of road. It's very fast. But if you park up there, you can walk up the Ridgeway. You can look in Liddington, clump on the way up. Barbary is easier. So you have Barbary Castle's got a dedicated car park because I think it's National Trust or English Heritage. But either way, it's got a big car park, and you can go to Smeath Ridge as well. But let's think bigger. So you've got that. You've obviously got Avebury, but it's not really on a hill. If you want the ultimate in hill forts in Wessex, there are two spring to mind. Maiden Castle in Dorset and Sisbury Ring down near Worthing. These are massive hill forts. I mean, I think they were vying for which one's the largest, and people down southeast will say, Sisbury Ring is the largest, and people in Dorset say no, Maiden Castle's the largest. Well, I've been to both, I've photographed both, and I will say that Maiden Castle's bigger. I think it just seemed enormous. I couldn't fly from it because it's National Trust, but I found a path going out to the west, sent the drone up, and I couldn't get it all in shot. It is just absolutely
huge. Crazy, isn't it? You have to go so far back to try and get it
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kilometre wide,
Yeah.
or east-west. It's over a kilometre, I would say.
Yeah.
And when you look at the complexities of the earthworks and the size of the earthworks,
Staggering.
it's crazy, isn't it? You just think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the Durotriges tribe, I guess.
It makes Wansdyke look small. It's huge. Now, not to belittle Cispri either, because if you want the perfect place for a sunrise or sunset, Cispri Ring, wow, it's stunning. It's again, so the answer to the question is basically whereabouts do you want to go? So if you're down in the southeast of England, I'd say Cispri. If you're the south of England, I would say Maiden Castle. If you're up more towards the Midlands where we are, then you've got your sport for choice. I would say out of those, you're probably looking at Liddington or Barbary. Yeah, just all of those places stunning, and I could throw in a million more, but I think for pure photographic, content, and for experience, I think any of those are probably best. If I had to pick one, if I had to pick one, actually, I'd probably say Castle Hill at Whitnam. I think I missed that out. I think you can't go wrong with Whitnam Clumps. It's got a nice hill fort, and the views are great. Accessible, not too high. So I'd probably say Castle Hill. Yeah, nice one.
One more question. I don't know if you know this person, but Anna Dillon said, "What snacks will you be eating and drinking?"
Pointless question. Never heard of her.
No, fair enough. Move on, Headley. Move on.
No, move on. It's just seriously the muck in here. Right. So let's have a look at comments from the previous YouTube video. I'm going to truncate some of these because people don't generally listen for just comments, let's say. So, okay. So we called Oliver Hunter Listener of the Week. I've still got your books. He gave us these books, and I've still got them here. I've been really selfish about it. I'll try and remember to bring your books on this weekend. So let's have a look. Yeah, he's talking about Streatley Hill. Streatley Hill for a cycling challenge is a right knee cracker. He says he does remember a family picnic on Streatley Hill. So that at the top is called Larden Chase. Again, if you're in the Oxfordshire, Berkshire area, very, very, very good, above Streatley. He said his dad accidentally put a rug on a flying ant's nest, and they swarmed out just as they got the food out. Okay. And he says, by the way, I loved the treasure hunt. The very feature we annihilated this week.
We did, yeah.
Barry Ballard, JD9PD. Thanks for another enjoyable fireside chat. Given that you've both got proper jobs, sort of. I have no idea how you get the time in.
I'm not
memo
sure
to
myself.
self.
I don't know how. I don't know myself. People often say that. Say, "Oh my God, you've got jobs and you've got kids and you still do this," and I kind of say, "I don't know how it happens either." So I kind of just leave it there.
No,
really.
I think sleeping is overrated. I think that's all it is. If you can reduce your sleep to about 4 hours a night, then you can run airport IT. You can go out walking, and you can do podcasts and exhibitions and run the local air training corps and all that. It's great. So Barry, that's all you need to do is give up sleeping. It's bad for you. Okay, so someone, Jim Champion, who we know from various media, let's have a look. He moved to the area and he went to Whitchurch on Thames with the aim of walking along the east side of the Thames through Hartslock Wood, Goring. Yeah, very nice. We did that previous podcast. Once he'd been under the railway arch, he encountered more people, mainly female, walking along the Thames path wearing Choose Life t-shirts. Had no idea why. Some of them were playing what sounded like Wham songs from their phones and Bluetooth speakers. I can see where this is going. By the time they got to the old mill at Goring, they were everywhere, and some kind of George Michael event was going on. There was George Michael tribute act playing in the garden, George Michael playing in the park, a lot of Wham and George Michael t-shirts being worn. Sounds like hell. Sorry. I looked at George Michael, and then I learned that Goring was George Michael's home up until his death in 2016. Yes, and that's and this was a semi-formal Goring Michael Fest. Wow. I'm going to avoid Streetly and Goring at that time of year. Jeez. Davey941. Hello again, Paul Headley. Another interesting waffle. Sorry to hear about your mum, Headley. Thank you very much. She's alive. She's just early stage dementia, but you wouldn't tell, to be honest with you, at the moment. Okay, thank you very much. Dave Balani 3308, another regular. Looks like you had a good time with your mum at Avery. I did. Had a look at your Grimsdyke video. Great bit of drone filming. What looked like a very hot day. Yeah, that was a very hot day. Let's have a look. Simon Trains.
Oh, Simon, I know Simon for years. Years.
Since I'm watching this on YouTube, I do love the treasure hunt segment. I'm feeling so guilty about this. we're trying to do a proper one, but I think today was just luck that you picked the spot.
It
where
was,
we were
wasn't it? Crazy.
Heading to. So yeah, let's have a look. Sam walks a lot. Great friend of mine. Been for walks with her. Excellent podcast. I think a live one would totally work for you guys.
Yeah.
No, we did line that up, but we couldn't do it on the 2 dates that we tried. So we'll get that lined up.
Yeah.
So Stuart Bridger 5177. It's a shame Paul got caught out by the Newnham viaduct work. A bit ironic given that it's a bit of railway history. It's true. Yeah.
I just had Newnham in my head as much further north. I don't know why.
Yeah. Barry Conway, so he's onto it as well. So let's look at the map, and there's Newnham Courtney. Vista, you're confusing the London line with Ackerman Street, Paul. Congratulations on those views, Headley. Images unique. Thank you very much. Outdoor podcast location. How about somewhere beside the Thames and railway line, perhaps for a mixed ambient sign, or Dragon Hill, White Horse. That'd be windy.
Yeah, that'd be windy, trouble, isn't it? Not ideal for podcasts.
Yeah, or the cafe at Earth Trust for coffee and cake. Now we can't do that for one reason.
Oh right.
It hasn't been built yet.
Oh.
But once it is built, that'd be very good. Malcolm Richardson 3881 outdoor podcast where you can bring your complementary knowledge skills to bear on specific feature of interest. Might be a more focused discussion. That's good. So Graham Allen, just catching on this, wouldn't be surprised to find that Romans did have maps, but these were reserved for higher ranking individuals. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, very true. I still believe that they use transit and nothing else. I don't think they could map proficiently enough to do that. So I think they start with transit maps. But that's a whole other story.
Which is basically how the tube map works anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Neil Bucknell 9564. Can we ditch the amphitheatre background and have two ordinary Zoom backgrounds? Yeah, no, I get that. I'm in my wife's office at the back of the house.
You've got my toilet door in the background and Headley's curtains. So, it's either that or that. I don't know, really.
So we've got at the back of our house, we've got a double office, and my office is down there. This is Mrs. Thorne's office, and I'm here because it's the furthest away from the main part of the house, so there's less noise. Mm-hmm. Can Paul teach Headley how to screen share? Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Okay. So we'll SUAS News against all odds. I love it when this pops up in my feed. Okay, that's listener of the month right there, I think. Thank you. So 18 Rob Smith, the true shortest canal in the UK, if not the world, is the Wardle Canal, which joins the Shropshire Union Middlewich branch to the Trent and Mersey Canal in Middlewich.
I mean, technically he's correct. Clearly he's correct. Yeah. But the trouble is, it's a bit boring because it's part of another canal. It's just a little link. It's
Well, let's not lose Rob Smith as a listener. I think Rob, you're a great bloke.
No, he is correct, clearly, but it's just boring.
Yeah. Okay, so and finally Keith M603, can't think of anything to say, so this is a waste of button pressing. Nice episode, gentlemen. So Keith, I think let's make him joint listener of the month. So There we go. That's all the comments and questions today. So brilliant.
Smashing stuff. I tell you what, Headley, can you? If I play a clip on here, I wonder if you can hear it because I'm going to play before we sign off. I'm going to play something funny. I've got some friends who I've known for the vast majority of my adult life. In fact, all of my adult life. Two brothers called Matthew Jones and Lewis Jones, and they run a podcast called The Midnight Run. And what they don't know about films is not worth knowing. It's a film podcast. Film buffs, and the Midnight Run podcast, a little plug for them. They'll have a bigger following than me on this. And I've known Matthew Jones for, as I say, for years and years and years. Absolutely wonderful person, family friend. He's kind of an actor, and he does all sorts of corporate things like that in terms of what's the word I'm looking for? When you're like a bit part actor in lots of bits and pieces. Anyway, he does lots of random bits for me from time to time, and he played, and I've asked him to do me a Churchill voice. And it's all like sort of British paff voice. I'm going to play a clip and see if you can hear it. If you can't hear it, don't worry, because I'll play it anyway in the actual podcast. But let me just play this clip. Here we go.
You can pour all the money you want into the railways, but you can never make the damn things pay for themselves. I have no experience of railways, so I'm not a practical railway man. But I am a practical man.
Right, could you hear that, Headley?
No.
Oh, that's such a shame. Damn.
Send it to me afterwards, though, but I'm sure everyone else has heard it. Forward it to me later.
Yeah. Anyway, so the listeners and the viewers can see that little clip. That's a friend of mine did a random little Churchill voice for me. Actually, it was a Beeching voice, but yeah, I'll play that later. Right, we're done, Headley.
Brilliant.
I think
we're done. Yeah,
it's been a bit of extra long one,
everyone.
but it was always going to be.
Bit of a long one because we had a bit of a gap for the last one. So if anyone's got any stories, mysteries, or anything they want us to cover, or just anyone who wants a mention, just let us know on Twitter or Instagram or wherever else we are. And that's about it. Or if you're on YouTube, in the comments down the bottom here. And brilliant. So thanks to everyone who's still here, and we will speak to you next time. Cheers everyone.
See you soon.